be our March 23rd, 2015 regularly scheduled council meeting minutes. There isn't any additions or corrections, so we'll be looking for a motion to have those approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion on the floor by Mike.
I'll second that.
Second by Donnie. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Agenda this evening. No, Scott said he has one correction. And that would be our city lights.
Service contract. So let's table that, or I'd like to request to table that.
Okay.
So Bob has a little more time to review the one myself.
Okay.
See if we can also move the fire chief up to the top, because he's gotta get back to work.
To the very top?
Well, to the beginning here, yeah. So he can go back to work and protect the wildland fires.
We can do that. Is there any other additions or corrections to the agenda? I'll be looking for a motion to have the agenda approved.
I make the motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
Motion on the floor by Stephanie. Need a second? Second by Gina. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Brian, what do we got?
Well, I just got the announcement of a retirement from firefighter Don Bujalski, effective April 1st.
That's that guy from Old Falls.
So I received his letter. I'll get Scott a copy of that as well. And we want to thank Donnie for his 28 years of service on the fire department. He did a lot for the relief and did a lot with our association as a firefighter. So thank you for your years of service, and we look forward to dealing with you in the future.
Sounds good to me.
Other than that, we did receive an invoice for our new fire truck chassis about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Scott, I think, took care of that, and I notified Howard from Schomer Insurance to make sure that he gets the insurance coverage on that while it sits down there, so that's taken care of, and we're just waiting for that to further along. So
Yeah, see, we have that in our
you
claims.
probably have that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, that is all I have.
Well, thanks, Brian.
You bet. Do you guys need to make a motion on that?
We are going to have to do that at some point in time here during the meeting if we so choose.
I make a motion we accept the retirement of Don Bujalski.
There's a motion on the floor.
I second it.
Second by Mike. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
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 With
I
prejudice.
abstain.
Aye with prejudice. You have to work a little
The only
more.
thing that Brian and I talked about before is, now you have this hat already and all the trinkets that
Kids were nice.
you might still have to, research and get some of that stuff.
Research and development.
Yeah, well, motion carried. And I'd just like to say thanks, Don, for
You bet. Thank you very
for all
much.
your service. I had the pleasure to work with you for the last just about 20 years.
Just about. Yeah, you're not there yet, are you?
A couple months out. And no, I've enjoyed working with you, and I know Mike has as well. And I wish you the best in your endeavors. What are they going to be?
Hot sauces.
Thank
Wings and things.
Thanks, Donnie.
Yep.
Next item on the agenda, we have RPSWD, Rural Sewer and Water Board member here. I see we have a fellow from Minnesota Department of Health. I would imagine you guys are here on the same thing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, distinguished council members. My name is George Mangers from the Minnesota Department of Health. You want me to stand or sit, or what's the custom here?
No, whatever makes you comfortable.
It's a hot
Okay.
seat. We have a zap button on it.
Well, that's okay. I've been a lot of times. Anyhow, I'm here to talk about wellhead protection tonight, and a little bit about your wellhead protection plan. I brought you a copy for the city. And would you like the short version, the long version, or the in-between version?
Why don't you give us whatever version you think we need to be most up on?
All right, there is a handout I'll talk about in a minute. I'm going to basically explain what wellhead protection is. First of all, it's mandated by federal law and state law, so you have to do it. And you folks do it in conjunction or through the Rich Prairie Water System, okay? But I want to stress that it's your wellhead protection plan because it's the water you folks in town are drinking, okay? So it's not their plan, it's everyone's plan. But wellhead protection comes from the idea that we should have some effort to protect our wells from man-made pollution so the wells don't get contaminated. I live in Foley, right down the road. I'm going to tell you a little story about Foley. We had a city well by the county garage, if any of you are familiar with Foley. It was surrounded by a co-op gas station. There used to be a Studebaker garage, and the county had a fuel oil tank not far away, and they all leaked. About 4 summers ago, they started pumping gasoline in their well. They ended up having to put in a new well. They got a grant for it. The new well in the well house was about $200,000, which isn't so bad as far as well goes. Problem is, it's 2.5 miles out of town, and there was $1.6 million worth of pipeline they laid to go with it. So the idea is we look for sources of contamination to try to stop them before they get into your wells and destroy your wells and the available drinking water. So that's the real idea behind wellhead protection. Okay? There's a copy of your plan for the city so you understand what we're talking about if you want to look at it later. I handed out a little handout. It has a picture of your water tower on it. It has the executive summary from the plan. But the important thing I want to talk to you about here for a few minutes tonight is the map inside. Okay? And being I'm from the state, we have all kinds of acronyms, but I'm going to try to keep this in real simple terms. Okay? There's all kinds of pretty colored lines here. The first one I want you to look at is there's kind of a black oval, looks kind of like my big nose sticking out on the line there. That's the actual, what we call the drinking water supply management area. And that's based on a 10-year timeline, which means that anywhere from that black line, it takes water about 10 years to get to the city well, or Rich Pierz over here in the industrial.
Are you referring to an aquifer or just
It's an
groundwater?
aquifer. That's where your aquifer. It's actually your aquifer. I was going to get to that in a minute. But you beat me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's fine. And the groundwater that you drink from, by definition, is called an aquifer. So that would be the aquifer where the city of Genola and the city of Pierz gets their drinking water from. Okay? Inside, there's a smaller black circle with patch marks through it. That's the 1-year travel time. Water anywhere in that area takes about a year to get to the wells. And that's kind of really important because that's also the area that's most susceptible to contamination. Okay? Then you're going to see a red line, a yellow line, and a green line. Green line is kind of a box way out here. There's farmland and some subdivisions. That's the least sensitive area for your drinking water supply. That's called the low vulnerability. That means there's some good geologic protection out there. Protect the groundwater, the aquifer, from contamination. As you move west, you cross that green line into an area bounded by yellow. And I'll explain one more thing in a minute. But that is a moderate vulnerability. That means that area is more susceptible to contamination. You just have to really start worrying about things like spills and leaking tanks. Out in the low vulnerability area, the biggest threat to your water supply is probably old wells that people don't fix. Okay? Then you finally get into town, and there's a box which mostly incorporates that black 1-year travel time with a red line. That's a high vulnerability area, which is the area most sensitive to almost any kind of contamination, tanks, spills, and everything. And you may notice that Highway 27 runs through there. Your industrial parks in that area, and a bunch of other stuff. So not only is that area susceptible to contamination from all sources, but it's really sensitive to wells. And I'm going to bring up a good example. The old wet wall implement dealer, not far.
That's what I was just going to ask you about.
Oh, we're on the same page today.
We are.
Not far from the Rich Prairie wells, there's about, I drove by it, looked at it, I think it looks like about a 6-inch casing well, okay? That well is a direct conduit to the water you drink. It's very close to your well, so anything that may get spilled on that well or near that well could end up in your drinking water right away, okay? Those kind of issues are something you really need to be worried about. You have a nice water system, you need to protect it, you have a huge investment in it. Wells like that, and it's not bad to have a well if it's well maintained, okay? But eventually they don't get used, or they get cross-connected to your water system, or they get broke down, or things get dumped down them, that's a direct threat to your city wells. And I don't know what the whole story is out there, but that would be one of the wells I'd be concerned about as a city. The farther you get out, wells are a little less important, but they're always one of the primary things we need to talk about during wellhead protection plan. Businesses, auto businesses, anything with chemicals, dry cleaners, underground storage tanks, those are all things you have to be aware of too.
Now, what about ground surface contamination?
Okay.
Is that different than what we're talking about, is something being dumped directly down a well, or seeping in along a well casing or something along that line?
All right, I'll give you the talk about the difference between a spill and a leak. It's mostly time, quantity, duration, and quantity. A surface spill, the farther away from a well casing, the less, in theory, the less impact will have, because we have enough laws to make that get cleaned up, and hopefully, if it's a small quantity, okay, a couple hundred gallons. You lose a semi-tanker, like 8,800 gallons of gasoline, that's a lot more quantity. It's going to be there for a longer time to get cleaned up, so it's got a greater chance of getting into your drinking water. A gas station with old tanks, especially the old stations, they've been there for a long time. A lot of them leaked for a long time, so there was a constant source over a very long period of time. So that's even a higher chance to contaminate something. So the wells are conduits, even though that should be a grouted well, and I don't know if it is, because we could. Around here it's all sand, even though it may have been a cable-tooled well. There's nothing sealing the outside of it, probably just sand, okay? So that's the most susceptible contamination. Everything will go flow right down the side and follow it down. So that's always another reason to worry about wells like that. I'm not just picking on that one in general.
No, I guess I'm not.
But any wells like that close to your wells are a pretty good threat to your drinking water supply.
I don't know, Herb, do you remember anything about that well? Ever got grounded shot or anything?
We actually did some research on it. We spent probably, I don't know, 5, 6 hours, 8 hours on trying to find it. And there's no well drilling log in it at all, so we're working with Wellhead as of now, trying to see if he wants to seal it. And there's actually grants out there that they'll actually cover 100% of the cost. There's like 4 wells that we're aiming to close up that are within that time, and that's one of them. So that's
That was just the first one
That
that
was
came into
gonna be my
mind.
next question, is what do we do to?
Okay, well, I can talk
George
about
can
that.
talk about that.
There's several things you can do. First of all, you have well sealing in the plan, right?
Yes.
Okay. The nice thing about this plan is the Department of Health's wellhead plans are one of the few state of Minnesota programs that still bring money to the table. Inside that plan, there's an activity that says you're going to seal wells near your wells. And that's a good thing because it qualifies for a grant from the Department of Health for up to $10,000 for up to 100% of the cost. So there's no match. It's called an implementation grant, okay? And we have those grant rounds twice a year. We just missed one. The next one will be this fall sometime. So if it's in the plan and you can get the owner to work with you to seal it, we can probably pay for it with grant money. Though someone will have to pay for the bill first, and it's a reimbursement grant, even though it's 100% covered, okay? Second kind of grant we bring to the table is we have it's called a competitive grant. It's a 50% match grant up to $10,000. So if we couldn't cover it with the first well, or the landowner was going to pay something, we could do that kind of grant and get half of it paid for up to $10,000. And finally, I don't know if Morrison County has received any well sealing money this year or not. I didn't have time to check with the SWCD, but a lot of times the county Soil and Water Conservation District applies for state money, and they get grants to help seal wells. So there's some assistance out there to help seal those wells, okay? So the big part is working with the landowners and coming to an agreement to seal that well. And that's kind of a big role for the city in this case, because these guys, they don't have a lot of authority, or anything that goes on in that site is going to be under your jurisdiction. So that would be one of the things you'd want to keep on your radar when a redevelopment project comes along, is how to encourage them to seal that well. Be it make a deal, we'll get a grant to seal it, or part of the construction project, or things like that. Long term,
No, excuse me.
Oh, sure.
Do you know if, and that's something I guess we can check with our city attorney over, is that something we can do via ordinance? I mean,
Yes,
do you
you
see
can.
that out there? Okay.
You can do a number of things via ordinance. First of all, the Department of Health has some well statutes. They're not very good, and the Department of Health being an agency geared to help people isn't really good at enforcement. They have a few guys like me, but the rest of them are a lot kind of cut from a different cloth, shall we say. Okay? I'm an old county guy. I was Benton County's first environmental guy, so I'm the guy that everyone would like to hate. So, you know, kind of.
We don't hate you yet. You don't.
But
We didn't work in Morrison County.
no, I didn't. I worked in Camp Ripley for 4 years. That was close. Okay. But anyhow, there are things you can put into a city ordinance to prevent people from drilling wells. You can force them to hook up to your water system. You can actually make them get rid of wells, I believe, under the statutory powers you have if you put it in an ordinance. And that was something I would hope that you guys would want to think about. And there's a lot of help on that through the League of Minnesota Cities, and we probably have some resources that we'd gladly send to you guys too to use.
That'd be great, yeah.
So you need to keep that on your radar, and I'm not just talking about that well.
No.
I'm talking about everywhere in town when you're thinking about this, because that does a number of things. Cross connections are huge. That's a cross connection is someone has a well in their yard, and they pump out of it, and they run it in, hook it to their plumbing. Well, not only does it steal revenues from you, but you ever heard about boil orders in cities? Well, sometimes their wells have bacteria in it, and they backfeed into the city system and cause a huge problem by bringing bacteria into your whole water system. And then you have to try to disinfect the whole water system. You end up with boil orders where people should be drinking the water. I just had one of those in Foley too, so. I mean, they're not, but they're big problems for your town.
Lawn sprinkler system.
Yes, they're expensive for maintenance and it really affects your residents. So that's one of the issues. I talk about contamination a lot, and I'm gonna talk about so we talked about that. The other thing you have to think about is you have a pretty big investment in that water system, and it's incumbent on you to protect that and protect everyone's investment in that system. I mean, God knows I pay enough for water at Foley, but we have a lot of the same issues you do, and they're more aggressive on how they handle the wells than you are right now. So that's important because you have a nice infrastructure now, but you're looking at Foley, if you're sitting in the Foley, their pipes went in the 40s and the 30s. They're looking at having $1 million to $1.5 million in work replacing water and sewer lines in the not too distant future in the downtown area. So that's a huge investment for a small town to have to protect. So it all plays into that and the value that the residents of Pierz have to spend. You know, it's a lot of tax money. I mean, I'll be honest, I hate my water bill, but I have to pay it in my taxes. I'm that kind of guy too.
So one of the things too is I think we, as the two entities, we have to work together because there's things that, you know, our public works guy and Bob, they see and they just have to bring to both boards that we stay on top of things.
I think that, you know, one of the first things that'd be, I think, really important to start to get into right away are the, you know, private wells that aren't being used.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can see that being a big problem right off the bat.
Yeah,
Or
that'd be a
place to
very
start,
good one.
Good place to start.
And one of the questions that goes with private wells, and of course, I will tell you that all of a sudden you're going to hear, we're going to want to use that well if you want us to do something about it, because no one wants to spend any money to seal the well. So we offer, you know, we have the grant program to help with those issues too. So I'm just going to warn you, you're going to hear that right away. We want it for irrigating our yard. We want it for washing our boots. You're going to hear watering the garden. So that's going to be a tough question for you guys to deal with, I'll be honest with you, because they're all your constituents too. So some of these questions aren't going to be easy, even though they make a lot of sense. Some of them are going to be tough arguments sometimes at a hearing or something if you go to adopt an ordinance. Mm-hmm. But you got to think of, you know, not just the short term. Just remember what happened in Foley, because eventually they're going to have to put another well in out of town because they're still slowly moving towards another city well. And that's a high vulnerability area, by the way, just like around your wells. So eventually they're going to be pulling out, I can't remember what number it is, but it's over by the high school in a church parking lot, if you're familiar with Foley. That well's going to have to get replaced. Luckily, they built their infrastructure out to the new well area, that they have room for another well, and they can expand out there, so, you know, it's good, but it took almost $2 million to get there. So, that's kind of, my deal is I'm trying to help you save money in the long term and think about the long term implications. I'm a planner that makes me really weird, I think 20 years out when everyone else is thinking 6 months out.
Well, it's important, I mean, you know,
So-
if we don't have
But it
drinking
can't-
water, yeah, it's gonna affect all of us in a big way.
Right, and yes, if we get polluted, you can go into treat, okay? And most of the things we can clean up. And it costs a lot of money, but there are things you can do. Nitrates, a lot of VOCs, but you could be like New Brighton. Oh, I'm not supposed to say anything yet. We can't talk about New Brighton until the public announcement. Oh, I'm sorry, forget it, New Brighton.
Terry, scratch that.
But there are certain things that are harder to get out of the water that cost a lot more money, okay?
Oh, sure.
So, yes, treatment's always an option, but it's a lot cheaper to protect your water. And that's kind of the message I have for you. So do you have any other questions for me, or can I talk about anything else? Because I'm from the Iron Range, and, you know, we just talk.
That's okay.
So do we have to adopt this plan to be
No,
ordinance?
it's already approved
It's already,
by the water district on your behalf.
Okay.
But I think the important message I'm trying to bring to you tonight is this is your city plan too, and Nola's plan too, and everyone needs to work together on this issue with a little bit of money up front, a little bit of time to make your water system last a lot longer, because you have good water for everyone at Pierz and Genola.
so we appreciate all the information you brought us tonight, very, very informative.
And if you need anything else, these guys know how to get a hold of me, I'll be glad to do what I can to help you guys out. You look at, you started with ordinances and stuff.
I think it would be beneficial if, just myself working with Bob Gruber, if there is issues or what plans are in place or what we want to start planning, then I can address it with you as a council. And we can determine.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
obviously he's the one working in that field rather than.
And the other thing I should point out, that I'll give you the sales pitch, inside this plan is a 10-year work plan for things they're gonna be working on over there. So that might be something really good for you to look at.
Correct.
All right.
Well, very nice. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you
Appreciate it.
very much for having me, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you all. Oh, thanks a lot.
He's retired.
And I have one extra drug this leave.
Perfect, thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you.
Next we got something for the chief. Next item on the agenda, and that's a policy addition to number 43, protective vests. Chief, you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
I sure will. In order for the city to be reimbursed for when we purchase vests for myself and Mr. Loscheider, we have to have a policy on the books that they must wear one. When I say they, it's the full-time officers. It's not me. I have to have one close to me, like when the squad car and I do. So this is, we get half of it back from the state of Minnesota, and by putting this ordinance or policy into the policy book, we'll get the other 50% from the federal government from Washington. So if we don't have this on the books, I don't get my $500. So it's easy, it's just something we gotta follow. I got this policy right from Greg Shermer's Little Falls chief, so it's their policy. Same thing every other department's doing, so we just gotta implement it in, so I can send it for reimbursement.
We need
Eric and I did have a review with the attorney as well. So
okay,
it is.
do we need to do this just in a council motion? That's all we should have to do to adopt this policy? Or
I'm
does it
not
have to be
100%
via
sure, I would
resolution?
assume so, yes,
Okay.
just because it's a separate policy from
We
Right.
don't need to do
Yeah.
a resolution, we can just
Correct.
adopt
And
the policy.
the minutes would be the resolution as well.
Okay, so we wouldn't need a formal resolution to adopt the policy, I don't think we
Correct.
would, but,
And I can double check that and make sure,
okay.
and we can come back with this, but I think we're okay to move
I'm
forward.
in no hurry in this.
Okay, you don't
It's
need
gonna
this
take me
tonight, Jim?
forever to get it submitted to the feds anyhow.
Okay.
But the next month would be good.
Yeah, if you want to just pass out a copy or put that in the council packet so everybody has a chance to take a
It
look
is.
at the
It
policy.
is.
Okay, and any changes that you may have or think need to be done.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Chief.
Easy.
So we're gonna wait on it?
Yep.
Yes.
City Hall schedule. I see that Scott put together, we've been having some problems trying to get the city business taken care of a lot of times in the evenings when we're trying to schedule meetings. And, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on here, you know, just it seems like just about every time we try and schedule a meeting here, we're in conflict with some of the other things that are going on. So what I asked Scott to do is see if he could put together a master schedule so it'd be a little bit easier to plan around things that we need to get done for city business. So it's got some things on there. I seen it in Patrick. Scott, you
Yes,
also have any recommendations on what you should do with some of this?
It's kind of a tough position to be in, just because, for example, if you jump to the ARP driver safety class, they've been doing that since the later 80s.
Mhm.
They've been doing it in that building. So it's hard to.
It's 1 and 2 nights a
It's a
week,
big
yeah.
facility for them. It's actually,
Or a
1 or 2
month.
nights a week, once a month.
Once a month, right?
Correct. So, you know, and Mary Cheetah, I did talk with her, and she's willing to work with us in any way to keep it going in that community or the senior center building. My request would be is to have a sign out, just like Bob and I have with the dump key. Have a sign out. That way we can track what dates, when, things like that.
Yeah, like I said, it's really hard. We want to try and get an evening meeting or committee meeting or whatever we got going on. And it seems like, you know, every time we try and schedule something, there's a conflict. We'll come in on somebody else's meeting or whatever. So it makes it
Even
tough.
since I've started here, I never really was given any kind of schedule from anyone. The auxiliary club also uses it, and you know, on my part, the intention is not to call them out and take it away from them or anything, and that's not my intention.
It's just having some organization so
Correct.
everybody.
Yes, just so we're all on the same page, so when you guys wanna schedule meetings, there's not a conflict with
Yeah.
a bunch of noise going on next door.
Or
things
using
like
the
that.
council chambers or whatever.
Correct.
to be
And-
going on.
and-
Pierz Township too.
And Township,
Pierz
yeah.
Township meetings here.
Yes, see, and this is what I could track down, I'm not sure.
Lauren and Iron.
Yes, and Lauren is really good about it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I guess I don't know what kind of schedule he has. But the thing is if, it's kind of hard for when newer organizations want to come and use the facility, because it's like, well, technically, there is a fee that is in place for use, and we're also taking away from some of our local business if we want to hold meetings in here at no cost. You know what I mean? I mean, they could go and use different locations throughout the city too.
Yeah, I think, you know,
I think a lot of that started to be a problem when the old bank closed. and
Right.
When,
Yeah.
when they,
Yes.
when
Looking
the
for a spot.
brickyard did some changes over there and those kinds of things. I think that's kind of when we picked up the auxiliary, I think. Now, I don't know, does the senior center still sign out through the senior center? They have the calendar, do they sign AARP through you, or do they do it through
That was,
everyone's over
that
there?
was the confusion.
Yeah.
It was mostly through, the ladies next door, but like I said, Mary did come and talk to me and she was,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
it'd be
yeah.
nice to get a
Yes.
master plan. You know, and then
Yes.
even like the seniors use it, I believe, every Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, they're in here
Correct. And
later.
that has its challenges, and there's people that can attest to that in regards to, different noise and things that, but once again, my intention is not to change,
no,
you know. I
no,
mean-
but we gotta have some rhyme or reason, so, I mean, at least the city council knows that we can meet every week on a Tuesday or a Thursday if something comes up, or a Wednesday or a Friday, whatever the case may be. You know, right now, it's just a hit and miss, you know?
Yes, and I did kind of think about that in regards to, you know, obviously Monday nights are busy here, typically on Monday night, and then even Thursday nights have their, so, you know, maybe that Tuesday and Wednesday could be more available for outside groups. And then, but once again, it's a city building used, and we need, city meetings and stuff should be coming first.
Yeah, I mean, we have to get city business done, that's first and foremost in this building. I mean, that's our obligation, you know, so, I mean, we have to try and figure out, you know, how to make it work but yeah, city business has to come first. And if you can work with these organizations, Scott, and just try and come up with something that you know, maybe
Yes.
a Monday, Tuesday, or whatever the days may be.
And we're very, I mean, we're very willing to work with them.
Oh,
Let's get on
absolutely.
the schedule so we all are on the same page.
Yeah.
There's no, there's no, I wanna make it clear that I'm not mad at them or anything like that.
No, it's just getting, it's too, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of the way we're going about trying to get this all done and taken care of, so.
With all that being said, then I think maybe just a try would be have some kind of a sign-out form. And then we can just keep track of, and then obviously we need to sign out a key and things like that. And just that way we have like a month schedule ahead and who's
Yeah.
signing out a key at this
And
time.
some of, yeah.
And we can take down their phone number and information, and be just like how we have the dump key. Do the same process.
Yeah, if you can come up with some type of system, Scotty, it's, you know, it's definitely a start, you know, might need some tweaking along the way, but,
Yeah.
you know.
So if that's okay, then I'll.
No,
look
absolutely.
for some kind of sign-out form.
But these guys think that absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's
But
good.
then put them on a calendar so you can look at the calendar. and
Correct,
see
so
what's
we'd
going
have
on.
to kind of maybe just make something visible around here.
Because if they're requesting it for the third Wednesday of every month or whatever, that, you know they have it signed out or signed up or whatever for that, and that, you know.
Is that all we got on that, Scott?
Yes, other than, I guess, I'll touch base on that, it is on our fee schedule, and we handled that.
What, but there is one in place,
There is
and
one
we
in
just
place.
don't collect or don't
No.
enforce it.
Correct,
No.
and it's, especially for like the senior driving class, I think that would be a very appropriate collection, but it's up to you guys to decide, I guess.
Well, if there was a fee schedule put in place, we should be following it. And what, you know, and I mean, we're not picking on any one organization or anything, but, you know, we gotta pay for the lights in here and the upkeep and the heat and the, you know. I'm sure it's, I don't know what the fee is that we looked it up, I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty minimal, I'm sure.
It's $95
Yeah,
per day,
yeah.
so I mean, obviously they come in here for a couple hours, that's kind of hard to.
No, that's expensive for some of these organizations. I know.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, the auxiliary, I don't know where.
I was gonna
But
say-
it would- yeah, I mean,
I-
auxiliary and,
I believe we had made an agreement with them when they started
Okay.
coming over here to not charge them, I thought, I don't know. We have to look at the minutes, but I think we agreed to let them use their space for free. the
And that's good to
auxiliary.
know, just from my standpoint too.
Yeah.
I know we work to that.
yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, it's $90 a day, break it down, go by the hour or something. I mean, you know,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
shouldn't.
you look
it's
at
not
some
that
different
big.
organizations that
Fee
are.
schedule.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Just to
still
bring-
very important to our community, and, you know, if, you know, a lot of these organizations aren't revenue, you know,
Right.
derivative, so, you know, they don't have any funds for that sort of thing, so I think that's important to keep that in mind as well.
My opinion would be not to, I mean, just because I have to work with them and I know the kind of revenues that they collect. And it's not, I just don't think that
That'd be tough for
it would be
some.
tough for them, correct. But once again,
And I think the townships do pay us.
yes, they do,
Yeah,
yes.
Pierz Township does pay us.
Correct,
for
they do.
dues, Yes.
So, but I'll request that we have a plan in place or Nikki and I'll work on something to
Something to
sign
work
out.
Yeah.
And if it's new groups that want to use the facility for recurring time frame, then I will bring that to you guys' attention and we can determine whether or not to charge.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thanks for digging into that, Scotty. I know it's been kind of a mess to start with, so.
And once again, the intention is not to create
No,
hardship
it's just to
between
get
the
some
people.
type of
It's
order
just
and
so-
rhyme or reason to, you know, I mean, it's so hard to schedule appointments down here to do city business because there's so much other things going on. It's just really tough. Scotty, you got that USDA grant update?
Yes, I do have, just an update verbally. So looking into it, Mickey and I looked into it further, and with the grant, we would target it for the fire department. And with that being said, because that's more so what the grant entails, that would be a fit. we could break it down in a couple different ways. If we go above $100,000 for a project, we can bond with them. But I don't know if the intention at this time would be to bond, but we could bond at a percentage with them, with USDA. Or if it's 100,000 or less, we have the chance that they would meet us up to $35,000. But we'd have to stay under that 100,000 cap for a project. The 35,000, that's the cap that they would give us at that amount, but that's not guaranteed, obviously. So
$100,000 project would cost us 65, is that the way that would work then, or?
potentially 65,000 or
Potentially.
more.
Okay.
It's not guaranteed, obviously, but the question I have, and as far as an update standpoint, first of all, I did talk a little bit to Brian about, can we get some decent projects in that facility for that amount or less?
Yes.
And if we don't get the grant,
Several.
if we don't get the grant, we have to, we almost have to plan this project as if we're not gonna get the grant, because we don't know, it's not a guarantee. This is a recurring grant, it's been a revolving grant, I believe Anna looked at it one time. If we need to
Apply
wait a
for it,
year
yeah.
to get some funds, we can do that. It's kind of in your hands in regards to whether we think we can afford how much. Obviously, I think Kraft would have to get involved.
Yeah.
And then we can move forward from there. But like I said, this grant has always been out there for a number of years. We can look at this a couple months down the road and
Well, I think we
revisit.
need to, we're both drafted and the city right now with a new truck online
Correct.
coming. I think both of our budgets are kinda right there with that new truck coming.
Yes.
We'd be talking about the next fiscal year anyway.
Right.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
probably try and extend it out. We'll kind of keep up to date with what's going on with the grant process, but maybe extend it out. But with that being said, if we do want to move forward with this, we have to kind of pick a time that we would want to move forward, and then I can start coordinating with Brian, you guys, in regards to getting quotes for how much, what's going to cost, what we need to do, what would qualify, things like that. So.
Yeah, I think we should definitely start looking into it anyway. You know, if we can prepare a decent application and a good cost estimate and get it out there, yeah. I know the fire hall needs several things, it has for years, and, I know we have some energy things, we have some safety things, so I think that, those are definitely, would be good areas to target. I haven't looked at the grant requirements or how it's scored or anything like that, and I'm sure you will be doing that, Scott.
It fits the category of like I said, the fire department, and the small city. So, but, maybe this summer, we start getting some bids on what Brian, or you guys as a fire committee think that would be what we need. And I think Brian kind of said around that $50,000 would probably be a realistic number of some projects. He did say
So-
that, so we could kind of go from there. So maybe this summer, get a goal of getting what we need and getting some quotes, and we can go from there. And then if it does extend, we can put a percentage, because I'm sure costs are gonna go up, things like that.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Sounds good.
okay, so I'll start working on that within the summer months.
Yeah, and I can help you out with that and get Brian and Mike and see what we can identify, put some decent numbers together and go with that. We have some city funds. We talked with Scott a little bit before the meeting, and our auditor is actually making a couple suggestions of combining a couple things. Scott, can you do that a little bit?
I think Linda can attest to this as well. We have two small cities funds, 881 and 882 are two main funds. And what that is there was separate projects for when the small cities grants became available and the people that took the opportunity to use those grants in our city. So obviously 881 was the first one, 882 was the second round of this grant application. We collect, it's all the same monies, so to say. So when we receive these loan payments, it's going into two separate funds, and realistically it can be going into one. And I did ask Mary about that, and she advised us, Mary, our auditor, she advised us that we can close them down and put into just one. Just because I followed the process that was here, and companies were going into 881, certain companies after the second round were going into 882. I think from an accounting standpoint for Linda and I, for you, the council, and an auditor's standpoint, it would be better just to put it into one. It'd be cleaner, less to track. I would still have to keep that account open, obviously, until the year is complete, because we have been receiving monies in there now. But, so, with that being said, I'm requesting that we'd have to close them in resolution, but I just wanted to get your opinion before I prepare two resolutions. TIF 1-5, Country Place, that's the one that was first brought up. That one, she advised, she being Mary, advised to close that account as well, because that one is complete. There's 2 TIF districts under 1-5, but the Country Place is complete. As a
portion of it all.
Yes, that's what Mary relayed to me. So
You wanna just kinda give a heads up to David too, and just see if he's
Correct,
got any
yes.
suggestions, Scott, on that
Yes.
before we move forward.
After talking with David and Mary, should I prepare resolutions to close those? And so in other words, the two TIF 1-5s will be one TIF 1-5 instead of 2, and the small cities will just go into one fund rather than 2.
Yeah, a lot
And
easier to
that's
track
small
and.
cities.
Keep one of the accounts open, like
881.
881, and you'll just put 882 in 881.
Yes.
Well, and
Is that
I would
small city?
make sure David knows, because he does our quarterly reporting on the TIF.
Correct.
Does
So I would take his
And I have to,
advisement on how
Yes.
to do.
and I have to check, I believe, there's a number that he does, like you said, the reports on, and I don't think he's doing a report on that one because that one's finished.
Just call and get his opinion anyway, Scott.
Yes, I will, actually, you don't see right on.
He's really sharp on that stuff.
But with that being said, yeah, see, it actually is closed because we're not taking anything or receiving anything in it. But I'll check with him, and then if that is the
Okay.
case, that we can, should I prepare 2 resolutions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Close those accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Scotty. Liquor license update. I've been having Scott check into some information on the city's liquor licenses. I know there's always been a question of how many liquor licenses can the city have. I think our attorney given us his opinion on that, or what the law actually states. If you guys had a chance to take a look at that. Just kind of an FYI.
So what prompted this, and I talked to Toby, what prompted this was, there was a gentleman running a restaurant in our city that requested to get a liquor license to sell alcohol with his food, being the old bank was closed down and that liquor license was not being used. I did get other information in regards to how many liquor license, on and off sale, things like that, but the main purpose of this was to look at the restaurant side. The restaurant does not get counted as
A liquor
a
license.
liquor license, so we can.
Council.
Correct, because all of a sudden if we get more restaurants or something like that, or if we get for example, I mean, it would be.
What if we got an
But if we got like an
Applebee's or
Applebee's or something that
like that.
obviously they have a liquor license or that's part of their requirements, that we don't get stuck with. And that is not the case with restaurants, so.
There is no
there is-
limit, it's upon the council
There's certain language,
criteria.
correct,
Mhm.
that sets it apart from that.
You have to serve public or serve meals, you have to have separate seating away from the bar,
Correct.
those
Yes.
sorts of things.
So we are, I guess, lack of better terms, in the clear in regards to offering that gentleman liquor license without being stopped for future stuff.
And they would still go through the same process with Eric doing his research
It
and
would be,
whatever else
everything would
needed to
be
be
the
done.
same process as it.
It would
as
still need
others.
our liquor license and everything through the city and.
Yes, and it would be approved just like all others and things like that. So-
Did you find out anything, any different on off sale? Was there a limit to the off sale? Places
That- Yes, and that is, I'd have to look a little more into it, but that is set by council, so we just have that set and it's. So,
Think of the population too, doesn't it?
correct.
Some
To some extent,
plays in
yes.
there.
And our city kind of qualifies in different, like I said, the intention was for the restaurant, that's why that information is here, but, our city classifies under different groupings and things like that, and it's kind of complicated, but they, Tom did get the information he needed.
Cool. We have, next item was our City Hall request.
This was a request by a couple of people, and I actually was gonna take it off, and I forgot about it, but, and 2 or 3 people asked if the process of getting new rugs, because the rugs were, and so then I did bring it up to Bob, and I talked to Bob a little bit, but our rugs are getting over 10 years old.
And they are trash.
They are. I did actually have a gentleman from Ameripride stop in, and he gave us a rug. If you guys want to see it, it's in my office. The catch with Ameripride obviously is that we have to sign an agreement with them. So I don't think we need an agreement, neither did Bob when we talked about it, but
We can just
we can try and find, correct, it's a cleaning process.
You can come in every week
Yes.
or whatever and take it.
And what started this is actually, like I said, I had some requests, so I thought, well, maybe if we can just have them clean it, or clean them, but, it's a very minute situation, but.
And we used to have a contract with Ameripride for
Yes.
uniforms and.
Yeah, so then it tumbled.
Charging us.
Correct, it would be about $32 a month to have those 3 rugs cleaned. I guess I would think we're better off trying to buy some. For the most part, our cleaning lady keeps it very clean. It's not really an issue, but I just wanted to address it because it was brought up.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, usually what you get is every once in a while you get construction guys or somebody coming in and they, yeah, I don't know how you clean that crap off.
Well, they vacuum them when she
Yeah,
vacuums.
the best is
stuff.
to let it dry and then.
They were really bad.
It's clean up.
Cleaning guy.
Huh?
Just get an independent cleaning guy to come in periodically and clean them.
Yes, and I guess the best, I didn't look into who would.
Once a year, once a year.
That will look up to my rugs.
I think that would be realistic, but once again, it was something that I wanted to address to the folks so that they know, but I don't think it's necessary to have a contract, and I think we can find some reasonably priced rugs.
Sounds good. Electrical committee meeting.
I would like to set, I have some, I briefly talked to Bob about this as well, he's part of the electric committee. There are some larger electric accounts that we have, and that I would like to discuss with the electric committee, but there's some larger accounts where they're paying them, but they still have an outstanding balance that I'd like to address and see what the committee would like to do in regards to how administration should move forward with that.
Is that addressed in our policy right now?
Well, that's why I just wanted to get together and kind of
Okay, make
touch
sure.
base on our policy and make sure we're on the same page and doing the right thing, so.
Okay.
It's not a big, well, I guess, Mike, you're, Mike and Donnie, correct, are, so Mike, I guess your schedule will have to kind of build off of.
When do you wanna do it, ASAP or?
It's not, I mean, it's been going on ever since I came here, so it's not a huge.
You're normally around Mondays, Mike?
Monday afternoons are good,
Why don't we go,
and Thursday afternoons.
let's go for next Monday afternoon.
Okay. What day is that?
Correct. But after.
What day is Monday afternoon, so I can write the right one?
20th.
The 20th, 4 o'clock?
We also have,
Whatever works for
Yeah,
Donnie.
yeah.
3:30.
Yeah,
Seven.
that's-
Closed.
Yeah. Just- yeah.
But our electrical meeting won't take.
No, it'll take us 15 minutes. It won't be.
What time is that ready meeting?
Yeah.
so,
7.
Yeah, we,
Let's do 3:30 or 4, you pick the time.
4 o'clock.
4 p.m.
Okay.
Be here.
if I'm not here, call me, I forgot.
So the 20th at 4.
Sounds good.
okay, city light service contract, we tabled that. Yeah, we went through Donnie's deal already. Move on to some department reports, and we got Bobby O first on the line. Got your message today, Bob.
Okay.
Got anything in mind?
Well, I just wanted to let the council know, we do have two pickup trucks. We have a 2007 and a 1994 Ford half-ton pickup trucks. And the 1994 Ford is to the point where we can't drive it anymore. It's not safe. There's a piece that attached from the seat belt.
It's missing.
So that's the final leg.
At least look on the bright side, it get caught in drive shaft.
So what I'd like to do is entertain the option of purchasing a new vehicle. I'd like to-
Brand new or used, or?
I was thinking a new one.
We were thinking used. He brought one, and Donnie and I looked at it, and Donnie made the comment, I'm gonna let Donnie's theory, and it makes sense, I think.
The used truck with 140,000, 130,000 miles, $6,000. Our new one that we have, the 07, has 30,000 miles on it. For $100,000, 100,000 miles, it'd be a lot easier to go with a new one and have a reliable old one.
How's our line item doing in that acceptable replacement truck?
We've got about 19,000 in that fund, dedicated fund just for the pickup.
Just for the truck.
I was thinking of waiting a couple of years and try to get that one by, so we can get the trucks on a 10-year cycle. So we have one new truck and one old truck. Just kinda, it's nice to have two, just to buzz around town and do whatever. Have the one that's kind of for brush and dirt.
What are you looking at? 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive?
I would be looking at a 4-wheel drive, just a half-ton. I mean, the one we have now is 4-wheel drive, and it sure is nice to have when it's,
You know what,
6 inches of
did you
snow.
price anything out yet?
I did check with NJPA and the state bid, which is a separate
Yep.
deal. And I just checked with Brandon Motors too, just on some ballpark pricing, but it's in that 20 to 24 range for
I was gonna say
pricing.
about 25 grand.
Talk the possibility of not having a box, having a more like a flatbed. So we could put a pallet of something if Bob needed to move it around.
Yeah.
Also, that 19,000, just to make a correction, is in there now, but that does not include this year's budget.
Right, I was gonna ask that too, is that?
It's only 900 is what
Oh,
we
it's
budgeted
900, okay.
into that fund, because it is high this time.
So where do you suggest can we transfer some money out of one of those other lines?
Yeah, we sure can. I mean, there's money in other dedicated funds.
Well, I don't know if that's gonna hurt your, something down the road.
Adjust that.
I think we're only talking 5-6 grand.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
And we really, you haven't come up with anything yet, you just, I mean,
No.
this is in the preliminary process.
It's I've actually had Eddie Gangle looking for one for a year. I've had Matt and I called Rudolph's too, they've been looking, but.
Yeah, I
just
know
don't
that,
find much.
I know you get something with even 10, 15,000 miles on it, you're pay through those. Yeah.
So I'd like to start looking into it more and then bring the price to the next council
Absolutely.
meeting.
You bet.
And by the time you buy a used one with that many miles on it, you don't know if the 4-wheel drive's gonna go out on you. You don't know if the motor or anything else will. You're better off bypassing that and going up to the new one and giving us a reliable old truck that's gonna last more than 10 years.
And then at that point, next year, we can just start over dedicating, even if we dedicate 2,500 a year for 10 years. You know, we'll have 25,000 in 10 years for a new one.
Yep.
Just keep moving down. And then I just wanted to highlight the community gardens again, that they're available to the residents or people in the community if they're wanting to put a garden in there.
Did anybody sign up for any launch yet?
We had, as of last week, around 4 or 5, we did put an ad in the paper this last week as well, so could make it available to the community, to the public.
Awesome.
And then we did have a meeting with municipals that buy power from Minnesota Power, just the municipal group met. And I guess the conclusion of that meeting was that we're just gonna form a small group of some larger municipals within that group and one smaller municipal to start hammering through the details that we've come up with, brainstormed, so. That's kind of moving forward. Other than that, just sweeping the streets. I got about one more day and I'll be complete, so.
Sweeper's working okay?
Pretty good, yeah.
Good.
Replaced the curtains this winter, so it's
Good deal.
back in shape.
Sounds good, Ronald.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Don't
Bob.
forget to pick up your,
Yeah.
Sorry, my screen Who you got, chief?
Not much exciting. If you noticed on the, down over by Don's house, the radar sign's back in town.
Seen that?
And that one I'm gonna keep now for as long as I can. A bunch of other ones are signed out between Pequot Lakes, Staples has one, there's one going to Adina, but I'm gonna keep my finger on this one just for Pierz, because we're the ones that wrote the grant, so I'm gonna keep it. Safety fair for the high school with community education, we're planning that. We've got all departments on board, Pierz Fire Department, Morrison County K-9, Morrison County CERT team, Water Patrol, and then also Little Falls Police Department. They're the ones that come in to do the bike rodeo for our kids. Last 2 years, we do it every 2 years. I believe like last time we had it, there was like 120 kids that come on the community, not calling their parents, so it's a big hit. And then Thursday and Friday, I'll be up in Brainerd for Death Investigation Conference. It's only half day, so I'll still be around part of the day, but otherwise I'll be on my cell phone like usual, so. Nothing else pending, monthly report will be at the end of the month for the call, so. Any questions?
Keep up the good work, chief.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks. Daniel, my brother.
Just here for an update. You guys, the golf course is open.
Good.
Fired up the irrigation day, and despite Citi driving over most of my lines, they held.
What's the fact you say they broke?
So that's good. That saves a week's worth of work by not having any leaks. I'm gonna fire up the campground tomorrow because I have requests for campers this weekend, so they're willing to call back on Wednesday. I'll let them know if they come, because the water again, the bathrooms and all that stuff. So I plan on working on the campground tomorrow. Other than that, everything's coming alive. April 21st is the men's league meeting, and from there on, it's full mode after that. So the bridge is complete.
Looks really nice. Got a lot of compliments.
The stalls have a proposal. I don't think it's necessary to, I'll just update you on it. They want it stained. I know we didn't talk about it, but they said they would pay for, they got a quote from Custom Painting Gruber, and to do the first coat is $2,050, and the stalls are gonna pick up that bill. They're gonna get stained, and then they want to stain again next year, and that's $1,050. They're gonna pick that up too. And then after that, they'd like the city to take over 2 to 4 year intervals.
That cedar normally have to weather for a little bit before they can throw it on.
I've heard a lot of different things.
Normally cedar's not kiln dried. In other words, they don't set the moisture, they don't set the pitch. So normally they want it to
Yeah, this was really.
green. I mean, normally this comes green.
This was really
Basically.
dry.
Was it? Okay, because normally that's everything
I
that we
left that
run
up
at the
to Tom
shops.
Stahl and Mick Gruber, basically. I said, that's on your own, you can pay for that on your own side. I don't know if you got the check today.
I did.
I gave it to Nikki on Friday, so I asked
okay.
her about it.
Yep.
So the
okay.
stalls
Okay, and I did talk to,
donated their portion, they agreed.
Nice.
I did talk to Merlin today, and he'll have it here later this week, and he's requesting to take a picture either by the bridge or at City Hall, but I think it'd be.
And the
More shooting by the
Doing by
bridge.
the
The
bridge.
stalls we're talking about are ribbon cuttings.
That's what I had suggested, we need to do some kind of a
And
ceremony.
I
Dedication,
told
yeah.
Tom to come up with the date and stuff, so I think
Okay.
he's all working on that, so.
And just as an FYI, in talking with Dan, as soon as the bank's check comes in, we will pay, and I did talk to you about this, Toby, we'll pay the completion of the project. So, the construction bill and FOBs is still
The materials.
correct. We're still in the near.
Like I said, I gave it to Nikki on Friday, so ask her about it
Okay.
tomorrow, so.
Good.
Good.
Thanks,
That's all I
Dan.
got.
Sounds good. Probably stop down and see you in the next day or two.
Yep, I suppose we could, I'll call everybody, but have a park board meeting the first Monday in May. I think, if
What's the
that-
weather forecast looking like throughout the week?
60s, 70 tomorrow.
When?
Great Wednesday.
And wind.
100 mile an hour wind again.
Yeah, but a lot of
Always
brush
good.
down.
Makes you shape the ball when you hit it.
Just gotta stay in the right spot.
Hey, well.
Did you say that the meeting was April 21st?
Scotty?
We have
Administration, what do we got?
Well, I was gonna talk about park payment, and we just kinda covered that. Like I said, we'll get the payment upon, because otherwise we have to move. We talked about electric committee meeting. And that's pretty much what I have. I'll have more information at the next meeting about the cleanup day. Otherwise, Bob and I are working on putting the ad in the paper, and that's going well, so. As a reminder, it's May 2nd, for the cleanup day.
Very good, thanks, Scott.
The day Gina won't help us.
Who was that?
Neither will Stephanie, she isn't gonna be around either.
You're gone too.
What?
Yeah.
So once again, we got the three girls who are not helping with spring cleanup again this year. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah. We'll take care of it.
You got any toilets that need to be cleaned down at the, It usually goes good, there's a lot of fun. We usually have plenty of help.
Every day,
No, it goes good, we have a good turnout, we have a lot of fun doing it, so. You guys are missing out on a good time, that's all I know.
I've helped before.
Mhm.
My favorite was the year that they brought that manure tank in. Just want you to know.
Toby, that's all I have for.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Linda, we got anything on the treasurer's report?
We have a little money in the bank.
Good.
The checkbook balance on March 31st was $712,679.13. There are no CDs to renew this month.
Very good, thank you, Linda. We got some bills to pay.
Well, so we have,
Oh, we got some building permits too, don't we?
yep, a bunch.
You wanna
It's
move to the,
Bills are building.
yeah, let's get the bills paid quick,
Okay.
while we're on that subject.
No additions, Scotty?
To the claim still.
And I'll make a motion.
Motion on the floor by Mike to play
Pay
the
the
claim
bills.
bill.
I'll second
Do I
that.
read that right? 301,000?
Yeah, but 84,000 of that is a truck chassis.
For the truck.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
There's other bills. It was Rosenbauer.
Yeah, that's for the truck.
Was the truck, but there's also some materials and stuff for the truck that came through too that had that as well.
Some, loose goods.
Correct.
That Brian.
There was a motion on the floor.
I
by
seconded that.
Second by Donnie. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Don, what do we got for permits?
Well,
We got a handful.
we're gonna start with the, a place poles in the ground and put a tarp over it as a shed on 225 Park Avenue. And that has been denied through the planning and zoning, primarily because it, from what they have drawn and what we measured, he's not far enough off the road right away. And then the other issues start coming in is a tarp a legal roof
Structure.
for snow load, for whatever else? And do we actually want something like that in a residential area? Yeah,
What was the address, Don?
225 Park Avenue.
Which way though?
We're right behind Lorraine Bartis. There's a little house that's maybe 15 feet by 15 feet, and he wants to put a 10 by 10 4 poles in a tarp.
When I contact this person, which avenue should I go that it's obviously not the right
It's
distance from?
It's not the right distance from the road, and if they would like to pursue a little bit more, then at the next council meeting at 6 o'clock, we'll have the planning and zoning board go there and talk to them.
What is the building fish?
It's not really.
It's not really a structure.
What's the square footage? Does he have anything on
It's
it?
17 by 12 or something.
What is it?
17 by 12 or something.
10 and a half by 17.
17.
But even there, because it's only a tarp that's gonna cover it, it's not really something that would be,
Well, if it's under 200 square feet, that went up a little bit, but it wouldn't have to be permitted, but it still has to meet the building code,
right.
you know, so.
And at this point, that's
Yeah,
what
he would
he
still
would not
need
do, building code is when he would not meet them. So with that one, we wanna do each one of these one at a time, or you want me to just to run through them all for you?
If you guys have them all,
Okay,
looked
so
at,
first-
and do you have them all approved?
Yeah,
Let's
yes.
do them all at once.
Okay, so first we have Dave Rushlow is adding on a bathroom to his home. Basically, it's an 18 by 18 area, bathroom and closet, whatever. That was approved by planning and zoning. The second one is Gene Martin, and it's to add, he built a garage or a shed last year, and he's gonna add on to the back of that, 18-foot wide by 34. Glenn, Glenn, that's what it says right there.
Okay, you said Gene.
Oh,
You
okay.
did.
I'm sorry, Glenn. Next one, I spoke to Scott, Linda, is John Thielen, and Linda and John are gonna enclose their screened-in porch. Basically take I think the porch out and then, because they'll have to put footings because that's being attached right into the home, but it'll be a screened-in porch.
That you said enclosed.
Totally, well, it's a porch now, it's just a deck, and
Oh,
they're having,
okay. I thought you
they're
said.
coming in to screen it in to make it a 4-season porch.
I didn't understand. No.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Next one, American Legion just, they gave us their drawing of what we're gonna be doing over at the park, the park,
The monument.
the monument, just for the concrete work and everything else. So that's, they just wanted it formally done,
By
just
planning and zoning.
by planning and zoning, just to make sure.
Yep.
Our last one is, Donnie and Judy Piney are adding what do I call it? A sidewalk slab area. So if I hold it, like this, so that's the coat rack. That's, if you walk in their building, you walk out, this will all be concrete. And then they're using, pillars with 5-foot tall wrought iron fences in the front and in the back, the emergency exit. Over here by Shelley Funeral Home, that will be a 7-foot tall solid plastic with the decorative, like the last foot is decorative.
Vinyl type.
That vinyl, that would wise that area or that side, because of the funeral home, they would have more privacy, so go wake there tonight, if somebody's walking through, they wouldn't actually see that area. It's just gonna be for patio seating, no way to get into that unless you walk into his barn and come
You
through.
have to go through the brickyard to get to it.
Right. The whole front area, there's no gates, no anything.
Got a gate here.
This is the emergency, they have to have emergency one
Yeah, I
that's
was
there.
gonna say, you have to get all.
You have to have a fire exit.
And that's the backside. But in
And-
terms of people walking in front, they have to walk into the barn to be able to get in there.
What is this gonna do to city noise ordinance and things like that?
Well, he's gonna have to,
I'm assuming nothing, or very little, just because it's the same thing with Patrick putting his tables out in front there. He's just looking for a spot to put it, and basically gonna be putting concrete throughout the whole. It goes just less than half of his building. The back half will still be parking, he says.
another door out of there, gate out of there. I don't know, I didn't look at square footage or overall, but that's gonna be all.
Yeah, he's
have
got
to
a
be
30 by
approved the
42.
building official anyway.
Right. So those are what we have.
Is there gonna, Don, is there gonna be a door out the north side too?
Not the north side, he's just putting one towards the east.
Wouldn't you think there'd have to be one towards the west side, some other fire exit
Well,
besides
depends
just?
on what the occupancy load is gonna be in there, what you require, the amount of exits you're gonna need. It seems to me just, if I look at half of the building, but.
Well, it's,
Yeah,
what,
yeah,
32?
30, it's 30 by 42
Yeah,
is the
I
actual
don't
size.
have the book, I
Right,
don't know,
but-
but. Yeah, he may need another exit, but just make sure that's ran through David.
Yeah, and it's signed here, David would be the next one to approve it.
Okay.
Because they'll be putting a hole or,
Cross footings in.
yeah, to be able to go through that door. I mean, they're
Oh,
gonna put a door into the building.
Okay, yep,
So David will have to approve all of that.
okay.
That's what we have.
Is there a motion on the floor to approve the building permits that have been approved by planning and zoning?
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Mike and second by Gina. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried unanimously. Anybody have anything else? If not, we'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion on the floor by Gina to adjourn. Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Donnie. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.
Connie, where's your deal? chips and crackers.
But yeah, I pushed the, what do you call it, button, I go sideways on me. Rotate